I see people coming in. We always love to hear where you guys from or where you calling in from. It's always interesting. Let me see. Make sure you guys can. Everyone. There we go. Where you guys from? I always like to see kind of where the farthest, closest is. Estonia. Got to pull up a map to figure out where that is. Sadly enough, my world geography is not very strong. I'm good at what I'm good at. I know what I'm not good at. Do you know where Estonia is, Dean?
I do. I have a good friend from Estonia.
Is it Anna?
No, no.
Where is Estonia?
It's in Europe. I don't want to. I don't want you to think. I
Oh,
don't
okay.
want you to think
I
I'm
knew
that much
that.
better than you.
I knew that. I
It's
mean,
my wife's friend. Okay, it's not my friend. It's more of
backup,
a yeah,
backup.
yeah.
Philippines, Roseville, North Carolina, Dallas, Texas. Go Cowboys. I'm a big Cowboy fan. Where else? Where is everyone from? Kansas, India. India might be the farthest right now. Canada. Love it, love it, love it. Chicago, Indy City. Arizona, not too far, not too far. Dallas, another Dallas. Go Cowboys. Vancouver Island. Love it. Love it. Houston. Houston in the house. Chicago. Good stuff. Good stuff. Where else? Where's everyone from? I think the farthest we had was India and Estonia. DC metro area. Jersey. Awesome, awesome. Good stuff, good stuff. We'll give it another, what, minute, Dean?
Yeah, yeah. Give it another minute or so.
We just put in the chat, the group, it's a NetSuite Made Easy. So if you guys have tips, tricks, who want tips and tricks, questions, be in there. We update that pretty consistently as well. So Dean just put that in the chat. Excuse me. Just added it to the chat as well. NetSuite Made Easy. Go ahead, you can always look at that and go from there. Good. Anyone who's been to one of our NetSuite Master classes before? Has anyone been to one of these before? Like this is not your first time. Oh, maybe we got a lot of first time people. Danielle, awesome. First time. So who's is this their first time? If this is your first time, put a 1 in the chat if you can. Oh wow. A lot of new people. Awesome. Love to see it. Be prepared to have your mind blown by Mr. Dean. Nice. Nice. Okay, good. So a lot of first time people here. Ones. I see a lot of ones in the chat. One. Seminar duration. How long is this? This is probably going to be, let's say about maybe an hour, right, Dean? And then we have Q&A. We'll probably stay on another hour 15, hour 30 if need be. If you need to leave, that's fine. You'll get a copy of this as well and the deck. So good. So let's get started. For the people that are here, thank you so much for coming. This is our NetSuite Masterclass. We put this on once a month. This is our 6th session. And if you want to see copies or previous recordings let us know, and we can get you a link that has all the previous recordings and the PowerPoint walkthrough decks as well. But thank you guys. We're going to be walking through how to automate processes with saved searches and scripts. Dean says he thinks this is going to be one of our funnest ones and most value add. So looking forward to it. Confidentiality notice, as always. Our objective, I'll kind of hand this over to you, Dean. You can kind of go over it.
Yeah, it's just, our objective for doing this, right? We started these because we found there's quite a bit of challenges that people have in NetSuite. I mean, it's a great system, but if you don't know what you don't know, we put that here. That's probably what we hear on a daily basis. And we just see a lack of training and adoption in some of the real powerful areas of NetSuite, like CSV imports, save searches, reporting, adding custom records, fields. There's so much that you can do. So our goal here is to really help teach and help people get the most out of their investment in NetSuite and the platform and the ecosystem. And then our agenda here for today, Charles will walk us through just some quick introductions, just briefly touch on ScaleNorth so you continue to learn and know about who we are, what we're all about. And then we'll actually jump into the masterclass where we'll go through a use case. The use case we're going to go through is how to automate a sales rep commission. You're going to see a lot of components that we'll walk through to do that. And then we got live Q&A and next steps at the end. So Charles, I'll hand it back to you.
Yeah, for sure. So just myself, your MC, Charles Stevenson, VP of Sales here at ScaleNorth. I've managed 2 large sales teams over the last 2 decades of my career for Fortune 500 companies. And my bachelor's degree is in accounting as well. Mr. Dean Carazza, our man of the hour, he's going to be going through majority of the stuff you guys want here today. He has over 14 years of experience, a lot of good public and private industry experience, 8 years NetSuite, 2 years actually using it as a user like you guys are for a $100 million distributor. And then 6 years here at ScaleNorth. Funny enough, he was actually a director on our consulting side. And then a year and a half, 2 years ago, decided to want to try something new in sales. So he's actually done some of the most complex implementations, done over 20 implementations here for ScaleNorth, and industry-wise, manufacturing, e-commerce, warehouse distribution, professional services, SaaS. I mean, pretty much across the board. So you're going to be in good hands here for the rest of the event. I'll give you a quick synopsis on us. Why listen to us? We're one of the largest NetSuite specific NetSuite partners in the ecosystem. Over 280 employees, all strictly employees. We do not outsource any work. So any partners you talk to, I would challenge you, ask them how much of their staff is outsourced versus actual employees. Ours are all actual employees. Average tenure is over 8 years of NetSuite experience. And we have 2 sides of the business, is our accounting side and our NetSuite consulting side. I think that's what sets it apart. We actually process about $2.5 billion in revenue through NetSuite for our clients. We have about 140, 150 clients that we do anything from controllership down. They outsource to us. So we're actually the biggest user of NetSuite in the ecosystem, one of the biggest in the ecosystem. And a big thing too, 61% of our total 280 staff are CPAs. So that's a big piece. That's a lot different than just having a technical partner. All right, next slide. Like I said, these are our services. So we do implementations, we do consulting and manage the services. And our technical services, we actually have a development team that will build scripts and develop different apps as well. We actually have 3 apps on Suite App right now. That is our technical side. And then our outsourced accounting side is we do outsourced accounting for companies, literally from just maybe outsourcing just AP to outsourcing controller all the way down. So that's just a little bit about us. These are our tech partners, just some of our major tech partners. This is not all of them by any means. You'll probably see some names that you know that we have very strong relationships with. We only refer people that have actually done well for our clients and that we know work. So this is just a small list of who we partner with. We'll go next slide.
All right.
I will hand it over to you, Dean.
All right. Thanks, Charles. Thanks,
real quick,
everybody.
sorry. Real quick, sorry.
Yeah.
So if you guys have questions, there is a Q&A button in the middle of your screen, bottom middle of your screen. There is a Q&A, has a question mark inside of a little screen. If you have questions, please put them in there. The chat moves quite a bit, so we won't miss it. We will get to it. We're going to get through as much information as we can. Dean will stop if we need, if there's any specific questions, but we're trying to get through as much as we can and then answer all the questions. And like I said, if you have questions that are not about this topic, please put it in there too. We will go through and answer it. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, thanks, Charles. Yeah, thanks to everybody who's joined. Looking forward to going through this today. We will look to kind of jam through it. I tend to go fast, so hopefully you're paying attention. The good news is we're recording this, so again, don't feel like you're going to miss anything. We'll also provide the deck, which has the step-by-step guide and screenshots to everything we're showing today too. So we will go fast just to try to get the most out of the time. So yeah, we'll jump right in. So again, the use case that we're going to go through here today is how to automate creating the sales rep commission payable. I will disclaim this is for demonstration purposes. I would not highly suggest that you all try to go adopt this as your commission process by any means, but it's just to show you what's possible and touch on some concepts and cool things that you can kind of see when they come together. So jumping right into it, we're going to break it down into we want to build a solution for this commission process is the use case. So we'll look at, what are the configuration and development that needs to be done to get that going. So summarized here, this is kind of the configuration steps that we're going to take and show to kind of set up and get the configuration done. And then the development steps that we'll need to incorporate to kind of put together our solution. So from a configuration standpoint, we broke it down to the following components. So first, we're going to create a saved search that can be used to calculate commission. Second, we're going to create a custom field, customize a form, and then we're going to create another saved search that can be used as a sublist. So to provide a little bit more detail on that, we'll create a transaction body line field that will go on an expense report. And that's going to be used as a line level field so that we can cross-reference the actual, customer invoice that commission is being calculated or due on. And then when we create the save search for a sublist, we can put that as a related records on when you're viewing a customer invoice and you go to the related records tab, we'll now have a sublist displaying which expense report is for that invoice. So you kind of have good cross-reference between your expense reports and your customer invoices, tying everything out. Third, we'll look to create a save CSV import template, right? That's so that we can take our commission save search, take the results, import them into NetSuite using that import template. And then fourth, we need to create a file cabinet location. The purpose of that is that we are going to drop the save search CSV results to the file cabinet. And then there's going to be a script that's going to run and pick up that file to basically run the import template and automate the whole thing. So that's the 4 steps we need to take from a configuration standpoint. Then we need to do some development. We broke that into 2 scripts that will be used, 2 simple scripts. The first script will be a saved CSV import scheduled script. Effectively, what that will do is it will pick up the file from the file cabinet and run the save CSV import template. And then the second script that we're going to create is what's known as a save search. We're going to persist the save search. So what that allows us to do is the script will run the search results, drop the file or the CSV results from that search in the file cabinet, and then run the next script to basically go complete the automation. So there's a little bit of configuration, there's a little bit of development, and now we're going to get into it and actually show it basically setting this up. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to, configure and create the commission save search. So I'm going to stop sharing the PowerPoint for a sec and look to bring up NetSuite if I can. Give me a sec here. Okay, Charles, can you see NetSuite?
Yep.
Perfect. All right, so we're going to start off with the save search. So we're going to go to reports, new search, create a new search. We are going to create a transaction search. So go down to the transaction subject area. Here we go. And then create a saved search. We're going to call this is V4 MCSN commission expense search. We'll make it public. Okay, now we have to add some criteria here. So the type, we're going to filter for transaction type is equal to customer invoices, right? So invoice. And then we want to return the main line, so it's only bringing the main line of the invoice, so the total line, not all the line level details. And then we'll go ahead and look to filter this. We're going to calculate commission on last month's invoices, so we'll set a date filter to last month. And then we only want to calculate commission for invoices that had sales reps on them. So we can do sales rep is not empty or unassigned. It's not unassigned. Okay, so that's the criteria that we're going to use for our search. Next, we're going to go into the results. Can remove some of the stuff that we don't need here to start. All right, so the first field we got here, our amount field. We're going to go ahead and group this. Normally on a search, you would have sum to sum the results. Because for our use case, we want to, dump this to a file cabinet and then pick it up and run it. We don't want totals on our search because the CSV import will fail for the total row if there's a total row in the results. So to get past that, we're just going to use maximum instead. Then we're going to add our first formula text field. So if we go formula text, we will group by this, and then we can enter in our formula here. So effectively what we want to do is we're going to create our own external ID. When you're importing something into NetSuite, best practice is to have an external ID that can be used as the identifier, and also a way to understand when looking at a data set, when should the next transaction, where does one transaction start and the next one end type thing. So we're going to create our own value here to kind of serve as that external ID field that we can use. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring in the sales rep field. I'm going to put a .id at the end to make that the sales rep internal ID. And then we're going to concatenate that with a date field. So to do a concatenate, we want to add 2 down pipes and open single quote dash close single quote, and then another 2 down pipes. So that basically is going to be the concat. And then we want to add a formula field or a function field here for the toCharacter. So effectively, we're going to put in a date field here and then give it a format that we want. So the date field that we want to run is the invoice date or transaction date. So if I just put date, it will drop in that value here. Just going to move it to the appropriate location, which is in here in between these squiggly brackets. So there we go. And then here, you just want a comma, and then you're going to put in the actual format that we want to return this in. So if you do a single quote, we're going to go month dash year. For Y's, there we go. Close single quote. So this basically is creating a dynamic formula field so that we can have a unique identifier as our external ID. I'm going to hit set. Okay, we can label this. Going to call this external ID. Now we can move to our next field. The next field that we want is the sales rep's internal ID so that we can reference that on our import. So we can join to the sales rep fields. If you do sales rep fields, sometimes it doesn't take effect. Gotta try that again. Sales rep fields. There you go. You see when you get it. And then we just want the internal ID of the sales rep. We're going to group by that as well. And we'll label that as well. So this is the sales rep internal ID. Okay. And then our next field we want is the actual internal ID of the invoices. So we can reference that on our expense report. So because this search is already filtered for invoice type, we just put internal ID. We'll group by that. give it a label, invoice, internal ID. And then lastly, we need an amount column for our commission calculation. So we'll do a formula currency. Again, we don't want a total row, so we're not going to put sum, we're going to again do maximum. And then we can put in our formula here. So the field that we want to calculate commission on is the amount, the gross amount. So we'll put that here. I can wrap this in a sum, so it's summing the results here within the formula rather than at the search level. So we're going to take the sum of the gross amount and we're going to times it by, let's just say our commission is 3% that we pay out for invoices. So times 3%, close that. And then we can label this as, say, 3% commission. Okay. So we kind of got our search going here. We can also group some other fields if we want, but this is the main data that we want on our import. But I'm going to also group by document number and by customer name, just so we can kind of see the results a little bit better. So we don't want any show totals. Again, if you have a total row, it's going to fail when we go to import. So leave that off and then we should be good. One other thing to note, it will be best practice to sort your data by the external ID so it knows when to do a break in the transaction on the import. So because our external ID is right here and it's a formula text, because it's the first formula text field in the search results, I can sort by that by just putting formula text here. So it's going to look for the first formula text field and sort by that. So we should be good. I'm going to go ahead and save and run this. And we can see our search results here. So we got our invoice number, our customer, the amount of the invoice, our IDs that we're going to use for the import. And then we can do a quick recalculation. If you were to take 13,600 for the invoice times 3%, should be $408. It is. So this looks pretty good from a saved search. So we completed step one, right? Create a saved search for our commission expense. Now we're going to go into the step two, which is to create a custom field, customize the form, and then create a saved search sublist. So let's start by creating a custom field. We are going to create a transaction line field. So if we go to customization, let's see, list record fields, transaction line fields, new. We can create our field. I'm going to call this V4 CSN invoice number. Okay, give it an ID, similar, V4 CSN invoice number. Okay, we want to apply this. This field is going to be on an expense report since that's where we're going to calculate our commissions. The type is going to be a list record, and it's going to reference an existing, transaction type. So transaction. Okay, so we've created a field, and we can go ahead and save this and apply to forms. All right, and then you can see down here, here's our two expense report forms. We want to make sure it's applied there. So I'm just going to hit save as well, just to make sure it gets applied. So we just created our field. Now we can go, check to see if it's showing up on the form. So if we go to create a new expense report, employees, enter an expense report, I should see my field that we just created showing up in the expense lines. Scroll down, scroll over. Here's our field that we just created for invoice number that we'll use to reference when we do the commissions process. So we created our field. So now next we can create our sublist that we're going to put on a customer invoice to kind of cross-reference and link these two together. So to do that, we'll go back to reports, create a new search. Again, we want to create a transaction search. So let's get to the transaction subject area. Okay. Create a saved search. go ahead and give it a name. So this is V4 CSN commission expense report sublist. Can make it public. And then really we just want to filter this search down for expense reports, since that's the point, that's the record that we're going to try to, join a reference to. So we could scroll down, expense report, set. And then the next thing to do is to set an available filter that is now looking at the field that we just created. So it knows filter down for where this, this invoice number is referenced. So if we look for our field that we just created, V4 invoice number, we're going to put that in the available filters and save and run. Additionally, I'm going to go back and edit this search. What we have to do to be able to use it as a sublist, there's this option, a checkbox here that you have to check. So make it available as a sublist view. So that's really important. You need to do that step. So we got that checked. We'll go ahead and save and run again. Okay. So then now that I have a saved search that we created that we're going to use as a sublist, the next step is to actually set up the sublist. So to set up the sublist, we can go to customization forms, sublists. And we'll see here, we can look for our search that we just created. So here's our V4 commission sublist search that we just created. We're going to label it. We're going to call it expense report. We're going to put it on the related records subtab of an invoice. And we're going to say that it applies to sales transactions. An invoice is a sales transaction, so yes. So this should be good, and we can save that. All right. So now we completed step 2, right? Which was basically, set up the field, customize the form, and create a sublist. So now we can keep it moving. We're going to move into step 3, which is create a saved CSV import template that we can use. So to do that, we're going to start by persisting the results of the saved search that we created. So we can use that as a basis for our import template. So to get back to our saved searches that we created, we go to reports, save searches, all saved searches. If you have this sorted by internal ID, you should see more of your recent searches created on top. And we can see here is our commission expense search, V4 right here, right? So what we want to do is go ahead and persist this search. So I'm going to click on the persist button. Okay. And you can see here it's running, and we can refresh this page until we see that there's a download link available for this search. So if I hit refresh, there's now a download link that's here that's available. I'm going to go ahead and click download so it can go into my recent downloads, and then we'll use it as we start mapping the CSV import template next. So now we can actually create our CSV import template. To do that, go to setup, import CSV records, because we're creating this from scratch. And then you have to tell it what type of importer you're doing. Well, in this case, we're doing employees, and then the record type that we're going to create is an expense report. And then now you have to select the file that you want to use for your mapping. So if we hit select, can browse to our recent downloads. And here's the file results that were just downloaded, yep, about a minute ago. So we're going to click on that. And then we can hit next. Okay, and then in this case, we're just going to do add or update. Next. And then now you get into the actual field mapping part of this template, right? You're going to map your file fields with NetSuite fields. So we just got to go ahead and complete that. There's not that many here. Usually if the column names in your file are pretty close to the file name in NetSuite, it will auto recognize some of them. In this case, we don't have that many, and we're just going to map them. So external ID automatically mapped to external ID. That looks correct. Up next, we want to say that sales rep internal ID should basically be the join or the map to who the employee is on the expense report. Now, anytime that you're actually doing internal IDs as the map link, you want to make sure that you actually have it set to a reference type of internal ID. So you got to click into the pencil and make sure you set that. So internal ID of the sales rep is the employee. Up next, we can set the currency. In our case, for this, our expense reports, these are in USD. So I'll just set that with the pencil, US dollar. Next, we want to map our commission amount. So where we did our 3% calculation and commission, that should map over to now the expense lines of the expense report. So we'll expand this, expand it again. So here's the amount of the lot, each line in an expense report. We'll map that to the commission of the invoice. And then we have to give it an expense category, like what GL account is this going to hit? So we'll add category here. Because this is for commissions, we already know it's for commission. So we have a commission expense category already set up. We'll use that. And then again, at the line level, we'll just say currency for us is US dollar. Okay. And then if we want, you can map in some other things that may be helpful. So for instance, our search result has the customer name. Maybe we just want to put that in the memo field of the line, right? Just to show how you can map some stuff to different things. So we'll put the customer in the memo field. And then lastly, that custom field that we just created so we can reference our invoice number, we can now map that to the invoice internal ID on our search. So we'll bring this over again, internal ID. So make sure you set the reference type to internal ID with the pencil. And we've just created our mapping, right? Here's the left-hand side, which is your file. Here's the right-hand side, which is NetSuite. Here's how these fields map. We'll hit next. So now we got to give it a name. So we'll go ahead and name this. I'm notorious for giving things really horrible and long names, so apologies. And then we want to give this an ID as well that we can reference later down the road. So similar for C, send. Okay, so we got an ID, we got our name. Now important here, I'm not going to actually run the file and complete the import because we want to save that for our actual example at the end to show that it works. So for now, I'm not going to save and run. Important thing to call it, I'm only going to save so that we're just saving the mapping for future use. We're not going to run it right now. We're just going to save it. So make sure you hit the drop down and hit save. Okay, so we just saved our CSV import mapping. Okay, and then the fourth and last step in our configuration aspect of this whole thing, we want to set up a file folder in the NetSuite file cabinet that will drop CSV results to run this whole thing. So to set up a new folder, just go to Documents, File, File Cabinet, right? Just bring up the file cabinet over here. And then we can hit the New Folder button. So I'm going to hit New Folder. Going to give it a name, V4 MCSN for expense report CSV import. Again, you can name it whatever you want, but just basically a file location or path that you want to dump the CSV file in. And we're going to hit save. So we just created a file folder in the NetSuite file cabinet. So just like that, we've gotten through all the configuration steps. Okay, so now we will be proceeding to actually doing the development steps, which is setting up the two scripts that we need. So we're going to start by creating a save CSV import script, which is a scheduled script. To do that, what we're going to have to do, I actually have the JavaScript and the code in the deck in the presentation that's going to be shared out later. So all you should have to do is copy and paste and follow the steps that we're showing here today. But to do that, I'm going to open up a blank notepad. And these are the steps that you would follow for the first time. And then I'm going to copy and paste the code literally from the presentation into this notepad. So here's the JavaScript that we're going to use. Okay. And then next, what we can do is now that we have our notepad file, we can save this save it somewhere on your computer so we can load it to NetSuite. I'm going to save it to our documents and I'm going to give it a name. SN underscore scheduled script SS CSV import task. Now important, you got to put .js at the end to turn this into a JavaScript file. So just make sure you put .js at the end and then hit save. If I go to my computer, I can see here's the file, the notepad file has now been turned into a JavaScript file. And that's what we're going to use to load to NetSuite. So next, we can now take the file that we just created and load it to create our script in NetSuite. So we'll go to customization, scripting, scripts, and new. And it's asking me for the file. Well, we just created the file. So let's browse to our computer, find the file. I saved it in my documents. Here it is. Double click, save. Okay. So there's the file that we want. And then now we can actually create the script record. I'm going to click that button. So now it's creating a script. It wants me to give this a name. So I'll give it B4. Save CSV import script. We got to give it an ID for okay, so we have a name here for this as well, an ID, and then we can actually save this to create the script. So now a script record's actually been created. It's got the JavaScript behind it. Next, what we need to do is actually create the parameters that are going to be used to kind of pass the data through the script. So if we go to the parameter subtab, I can hit this new parameter button. And we're going to create some fields for our parameters that will be used. So the first one that we're going to create the label, and then the ID here, this ID is actually going to come from the script file, and I'll show you how we do that. So the first file that we want to create for a mapping is what is the saved CSV import template ID. And then this ID field, if I actually bring back up the code here, the CSV import one, you see we have the parameters are listed out here in the JavaScript. So for the first one, what is the CSV import? We want to take the name here. So I'm just going to copy just from here. We don't need the cust script part because NetSuite will prefix that on its own. So I'm going to copy that value and place that in the ID here. And then this is a free-form text type field. And then we just want to go to validation and defaulting and make it a mandatory field. And then I can hit save. So I just created the first field for our parameter. Now we're going to create another one. So go back to the parameters tab, hit new parameter, we'll create the next one. So then the next one is what is the CSV file cabinet path that we want. Again, to get the ID, I can bring back up the file. So file path, you see the parameter here. Just going to copy the name again, not the cust script part, but just that part. Put it in the ID. It's a free form text field, store the value, validation and defaulting, make it mandatory, save. And then we got one more parameter field to add on this one. So come back to parameters, hit new parameter. This one is going to be, what is the saved CSV import status job name? So anybody who's ran a CSV import, you know there's a name that says what's the name of the import job that's running. This is where we can specify what we want it to be called or how it's going to map. So again, bring this up and copy the last variable here, our parameter here, and paste that in as the ID. It's still a free form text field, store value, and make it mandatory, and then save. So you can see we've added the 3 parameters that kind of jive with the parameters in the script. And then now we can actually save the script record again. So now that we have a script with our parameters, this is I want to call out, this is a one-time setup. This is not something you have to do every time. This is setting it up. And then you'll see in the future where future use cases, this script is already done. It's a one and done, set it and forget it. It's the deployments of the script is where it gets unique. So we're going to now actually deploy the script. We're going to hit the deploy script button. And we could schedule the script deployment if we wanted to run on schedule. Today, we're going to do it ad hoc and on demand. But if we go to the parameters, you can now see all the fields that we created, right? So this is where we get to start mapping things for this use case and for future use cases. Tell me what the CSV import ID is. Tell me what your file cabinet path is. And then you'll see how this kind of all comes together. So now, Charles, is there a question?
Sorry. We do have a few questions like on topic. I don't know if you want to peruse them real quick and see, because I know there's a couple in there if you want to go through it, but
I would say probably just because I know we're covering a lot, and like I told you guys, we're going fast, but I'd rather just get through it end to end, and then we can save
cool.
as much question time at the end if everybody's cool with that.
Cool.
That sound good, Charles? All right. So now that we have our parameters right, we're going to actually fill in these values. So the first one, what's the CSV import template ID that you want? Well, we can go grab that value if we go back and navigate back to import, save CSV imports, because we just set up that CSV import. So I'll filter for expense reports. Here's my V4. And then you see here script ID. Here's the ID that we're going to copy and paste and put into this field value. So this is now where we're doing the mapping at the script level. All right. And then next is what's the file cabinet path that we're going to use, that the script's going to use. So we go back to our file cabinet. This was the folder that we created. Just going to copy the file name. Come back here. We put a / or backslash, paste in your file name, and then just put file and then .csv. So this is our file cabinet path that we're going to use. Okay. And then last, what's the save CSV import status job name that we want? But again, you could make this up. It's whatever you want. I'm just going to call it commission expense report import. Okay, so now we've completed the setup and configuration for our save CSV import script. I'm going to hit save. And we have a script deployment created. So then we can now proceed to making the second script, which is the persist save search script. And the steps that we're going to take for this initial one-time setup, very, very mechanical and similar to what we just did for this one. So we'll just jump into that here. So again, the JavaScript is in the presentation. I'm going to copy, I'm going to bring up another notepad. Bring up a blank notepad here. And then I'm going to copy the code. So you can see the code here. And then we can, again, we're going to save this to our folder. So save as to documents for us. And then we'll give it a name. So SN underscore SS for scheduled script, persist, search. And then again, we want to end it in .js for JavaScript. And then we can hit save. I go back, look at the folder. Now I can see both of my JavaScript files here, right? And now we're going to load this persist one. So again, to keep it going, now we can create this script record in NetSuite. So setup, let's see, customization, scripts, new. Again, which file do you want to use? It's the file we just created. So it's the persist search one. So double click on that, save. And then we can go ahead and actually create the script record. Again, it's going to want a name and an ID. So we'll do that. This is V4, SN, persist, save, search, script. Give it an ID or Oh, here, let me just make this consistent. MC before MC, assign this search. All right, so I have a name, I have an ID. We should be good. I can save the script record now. And then again, so now we have our script record created. We got to do the same thing. We got to give it our parameter fields and map them. So going to go to the parameter sub tab, hit new parameter. And again, we're going to do the same thing where we're going to put what fields and then how does it map to the actual JavaScript file. So in this case, I want somebody to tell me what's the saved search that that's gonna be persisted or ran. The ID, if we bring back up the file, so the first parameter name or variable here is what's the search ID. So again, I will copy just to here. I don't need the cuss script part because NetSuite will prefix that. So copy, paste. Now this one, instead of a freeform text field, we'll want the user to be able to configure or tell us which save search they want. So we're going to change this to a list record field, and the list record will actually be a saved search. Okay, we'll store the value, and then we will make the validation and defaulting mandatory. So that's going to create our first field. So we'll save that. Then we got a couple more to add. So go back to parameters, new. So the next one, again, we need on this script as well is, again, where are you going to drop the CSV file cabinet path? So once it's persisted the search results, which file path should it drop it to? We'll get the ID from the file here. So the next one, file path. Again, copy just that part, paste it in. This can be freeform text again, store value, make it mandatory, save. Okay, the third field we want to add is now we have to tell it what's the next script that this is going to be the first script to run. So once it's persisted the file and it's put it in the file cabinet, what's the next script that it needs to run to actually go do the CSV import? So that's where we're gonna create the mapping field here. So we'll call this saved CSV import script ID. And again, the ID field for these come from the actual JavaScript file. So here's the script ID. I'm going to copy this, put it here. Okay, freeform text, store value, make it mandatory. And then we only have one more field to add. So come back to the parameters, the last parameter. This one is tell me what the deployment ID of that script is that it's gonna run secondarily, right? So this is gonna be what's the saved CSV import script, save CSV import deployment ID. And that will be they will be the last parameter on the JavaScript file here, deployment ID, you see? So we will copy again just to there, paste it in. It's freeform text, store value, make it mandatory, and save. So we just added all 4 parameters from the script as fields to the script in NetSuite. And then we can actually save the script record. Okay. So then again, the last step, now that we actually have the script saved, we have to deploy the script and actually give it the actual mapping values now. So if we hit deploy script, it will create the deployment. Again, this could be set up to be a scheduled deployment, but we're going to just do it ad hoc today. So if we go to the parameters, here's all the fields that we created that now need to be mapped. So once we complete this mapping, then we basically set up our script to be able to turn on the automation. So first thing it's asking me for is which save search does this relate to? So the search that we want to persist is our commission search that we created. So I should be able to just search for that. If I go V4, here's our commission expense search. So that's the search I want to map it to. As far as the file cabinet path, we can take that off of the other script that we just created, right? See if I bring that back up. Let's see. And we go to the deployment. So if we bring up the deployment for this one and the parameters, remember we put the file cabinet path here already. It needs to be the same one. So I'm just going to copy this value and we're going to paste that in here. So it's the same file cabinet path. And then what is the CSV import script ID? Well, we have that over here. Here's our CSV import script. We go back to the script level, not the deployment level. This is the ID of this script. So I'm just going to copy that value, paste it in here. And then lastly, it's saying if that's the script, which deployment ID for that script. In this case, there's only one, but again, we might add more use cases down the road. So if I come back here, let's see, to the deployment, you see that the deployment ID is right here, custom deploy one. So that's the last value that we need here that we're going to paste in here. So this is now completing the mapping of our second script and we should be good. I'm going to save it. So essentially we pretty much set up all of the configuration. We just created the two scripts. The last thing to do now is to actually test this thing out and hopefully it works. So a couple notes as we're about to get into testing it. This script setup that we showed again is a one-time setup for the script level, right? So that as long as you can follow these steps, once you've set it up, you'll be able to reuse this again. And then the other cool thing here is the way that we set up this persist save search script is it's going to run this one, take a file, right? It's going to go take the search results, put in the file cabinet, but then this script fires the next script. So all we have to do is run this one script and it will basically daisy chain the next action and the next action. So just want to kind of call that out. And in order to test this now, all we have to do is save and execute on this deployment and see if it works. So I'm going to hit edit. And then we just go save and execute. Okay. So it takes you to the status page. It's telling you which script is running and which deployment ID is running. If we hit refresh, it should hopefully get a status of complete. All right, so it's completed. Now, again, the purpose of this script was to run the search and drop the results in the file cabinet. So we should be able to go see if a file was dropped to our file cabinet location. So we come back here to our file cabinet and we hit refresh. Here's the file. So it took those search results, dumped it in this file cabinet folder, right? Then we said, once the script did that, it's supposed to fire the next script that we created, which is supposed to go run a CSV import, pick up the file from here, run the CSV import to complete the import. So to test to see if that worked, we should be able to go to the native import view CSV import status page. And we can see here at 12:51, commission expense report import was completed. 36 records were successfully imported. So far looking pretty good. If we wanted to know, well, what just got imported? One easy way to tell is to go back to the file cabinet and look at the file, because the basis for the import was your saved search. So if you download the results, here's effectively what just got loaded, right? It was our search that had the invoice number, the customer, what the invoice amount was, who the sales rep was, and then the calculation of commission at 3%. So what this is telling us, looking at this file, wasn't a huge file, but based on external ID, there's only two unique values here. So this would have been one expense report, and then all of this is the same external ID. So all of this got put onto a second expense report. So this should have only created two expense reports. So we can test that and go see if that's what happened. Go to transactions, employees, expense reports list. Okay. And we see there's 2 expense reports here that are unapproved that were just created today. So those are probably them. We can filter this for just unapproved to just get down to the 2. And we can view this actual expense report. So here's the expense report that got created. It's for $3,169. We go back to the CSV file. That's probably the second expense report here. So if we sum this up, 3,169, 47, and 7, so round it up to 48. So that looks good. And then we can see it brought over the invoice that was calculated for that invoice. Okay. And the reason why we put this here is we want to be able to say, okay, if I want to go view this invoice, I can now just click on the link. So it will take me to the invoice. And then what's also pretty cool is we created that sublist save search to display on invoices. And we put it on the related records tab, if you remember that. So if we go to the related records tab, there's now a sub tab called expense report. And it's filtering to show you for this invoice is listed on this expense report, and this was the amount. So we kind of have good cross reference between the two, from between the expense report or whether I'm looking at the invoice, I have good linkage and cross reference back to each other. And we can just double check the math. This invoice was for $7,794 times 3%, 233.82, 233.82, looking pretty good. Okay, and then lastly, to kind of finish this whole thing off, once the expense report is approved, now it's just like native NetSuite, no different, right? Once you have an approved expense report to an employee, it could show up in accounts payable to be paid or settled. So I'm just going to go ahead and approve this expense report. And then if we go run a AP aging, it should be showing up on the AP aging now. Here we go, Will Clark, $3,169. If you want to drill into it, you can see it's our expense report that was just created. So that's kind of going really fast. I know that we can get to the questions here in a minute, but just wanted to kind of jam through and really just make sure we got through this all because it's a lot to cover in a short amount of time. I want to just quickly touch back on the power of the use case now that we have this set up. So again, I'm not proposing that you guys use this other than for a demonstration. This was just to kind of show a concept. But where the real power of this becomes is if you can leverage this and reuse this setup for your own use cases. So to show how easy that should be now that you have it set up and the scripts have been created, right? If we go to our actual script records, so bring up the CSV script, bring up the persist script. The next time I want to try to use this, all I have to do is create a new deployment for each and map them accordingly. So if I go to the persist save search script, I create a new deployment. It's telling me, okay, which save search would you like? Go ahead and find whatever search that you created that you want it to run on. Okay, which file cabinet path would you like it to use? Well, go to your file cabinet, get the path, put it here. What's the CSV import? Right, the script that we have, we know that because we already have that. And then what's the deployment? So same thing, when you come over to the import one, you're going to create a new deployment and you're going to map it as well. What's the CSV import template ID? What's the file cabinet path? What name do you want to give it for the job name? Once you've created those mappings, you can now run this on your own searches, your own file cabinets, your own save CSV. It will run just like what we just did here today. So I think this is pretty powerful stuff. I'm hoping, I know it's fairly technical. I am not a technical person, despite what you might think. I have a very good script and a guide to follow, but you see, it will work if you follow the steps properly and you know what you kind of have an idea with what you're interacting with, right? So I'll wrap on that note, Charles.
Yeah. So we got some good questions in there. Let's just start at the top. Rich had a couple. You can see the Q&A, right, Dean? Or you want
Yes.
me to walk through it?
Yep, I see it, Rich. It says, what does the persist button do to searches? So you saw when we did it manually, it basically it runs the search and then it downloads it and creates a download. So rather than us having to do that manually, the script has the ability to go persist it automated. Uh, so it's just a way to go basically tell it to download the results and that's what the persist part is. And does that answer your question there, Rich?
Rich, if you wanted to come on and answer your question, feel free to just raise your hand and I can allow you in if you want. Perfect. Give it 1 second. All right, Rich, you are go ahead and unmute yourself.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, so I understand the persist now, so it's similar to like scheduling the search, but just allowing the script to access the search is what you're saying?
It's specifically downloading the results of a search. It's not running the search. It's like
Oh, I see. Okay.
it's going
Yeah,
to
yeah.
create a download of the results.
Got it. Perfect.
Yep.
And my other question was, we often need to use journals to reclassify transactions, specifically like item fulfillment transactions. And so, since there isn't a way to sum, have you found success using like this methodology, creating journal entries?
Well, I th I think the cool thing here, I mean, you have to probably a lot of this stuff you have to test out. If you have an
Yeah, yeah.
idea in mind, the best thing to do is go try to see what you can do in a sandbox, right? So that would be my first thing. I can't speak 100%, but in theory, the concepts that were shown here today, if your save search has enough information to know if you can basically get what the reclass needs to be in your save search, then in theory, you probably could take it through, but you'd probably have to test it out and mock it up and see if it would work. Um, Typically, what we've seen done for reclassification stuff is it's another type of script. It's called a GL plugin script, I think.
Mm,
And
yeah.
basically, you can give it criteria on when a reclass needs to happen. And the benefit of that is when you use that type of script, it runs on the actual transaction and it adds extra GL lines to the source transaction. So it's not like it's creating a separate reclass journal entry. It's actually just doing the reclassification by just dropping in more lines, and you see all the ins and outs on the native transaction.
Got it. Yeah, I have one set up for returns like that already. Do you guys
Yeah.
have a training on that type of scripting?
If again, I get a little hurt because we always try to ask for what do people want to see and what would be meaningful, and usually people are very quiet. And Rich, you're brave to come off mute, so I will add it to the wish list, and we can probably cover that in the next masterclass soon.
Great. Thanks so much. This is very interesting. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, Rich. All right, and then it looks like we got Todd. Is there multiple files in the file cabinet folder? Will the script run on each of these files and import them, or do you need to? The way this one's set up, there might be a way to kind of, I think it's just more of a configuration, but this one is set to override the file each time. So there will only be one file sitting in there at any time, if that answers your question, Todd. We don't necessarily want to just drop tons and tons and tons of files. Your file cabinets basically get pretty nuts. But at least the way this one was set up is it was set up to override the file each time. If that answers your question. All right. And then
Todd, feel free to raise your hand too if you want a clarification on your question. And Suganesh, I will get to you. We're going to get through these people that put their Q&A in here, and then we'll get back to you as well.
Okay, it looked like Todd said he was good, Charles. Kevin, is there an easier way to search the saved search list, example by user or filter report name? There should be. To go back to showing my screen, if you go to save searches, all searches, whatever filters are available here, right? You can use what's here to kind of further filter. If you want more filters, then you just have to create or customize your own view and just put in more filters than what's here. So you could put like maybe owner of the search, and now you can filter by who's the owner and things like that. So it is pretty easy, but you may just have to do a little bit of configuration. Does that help, Kevin? Already got it. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I
then
don't think that, yeah.
what if the invoice has an expense reimbursement line which is not commissionable? That you would have to, again, we're kind of covering somewhat of a simple use case, right? Like I said, for demonstration purposes. I mean, again, as long as you can get the right save search to get the right desired results, then again, as long as your save search is good enough to get you accurate results, then the rest of this stuff is just machinery to run it. So you should be okay.
And while we're doing these questions, I'm actually going to launch our survey. It should pop up on your screen. Please fill that out, guys. It really helps us. Perfect example, like Rich was, asking questions and training. Give us as much information as you can so we know what to do going forward. We're always scratching our brain and like, what do we want to, what do people want? What do people need help with, etc. So the more that you can answer those questions for us, it really helps us, helps Dean kind of brainstorm and get in the lab and figure out what to put together in terms of topics wise that we can help with. So please take 20 seconds and fill that out for us. Sorry, go ahead, Dean. I'm gonna keep that up while we're going through Q&A.
Sure. What if, I don't know if that answered your question, again, you got to make sure that your saved search is getting you accurate results, because whatever the results of that search is going to be the basis to create the commission, the expense report import. Okay. Sue Ganesh, second time you need to persist, will it keep track of the one imported already? Second time you need to persist. Again, what's going to happen is every time it persists, it's going to override the file that was there. So I think that's similar to the question that was previously asked.
Sue did have a question.
Okay.
So give me 1 second. I'm going to allow you to talk, Sue. Go ahead.
Hi, so I think I need to clarify. So I know you can override that file when it persists again, but so you would have already imported part of that expenses, right, in the commission report as an expense report.
Yes.
How are you going to exclude the one that was already got imported and paid off?
Got it. Yes, good question. And why I want to disclaim again that this is not a full-blown solution, right? Like this is kind of a little happy path. So this is not solved for every possible, like what if this should happen, or what if this should be excluded, or what happens if somebody updates the invoice and now this was just to kind of show what's possible and kind of show concepts linked together. It would require more complexity to solve for what happens if there's an update, what happens, I think, to what you're saying, right? If we were to import it again, it might add duplicate line. There's other things that need to be taken into consideration, but for an hour class, we're just trying to kind of have something to guide the material and hopefully show the concepts in action. If that answers your question, Sue.
Yeah, it's just making sure that we all understood, right? So you confirm that we understood what's going on here.
Yes, I can tell you know what would happen if we did that, and that probably wouldn't be good. So yeah, it's just to kind of show the concept in action.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Cassandra, what is the difference between a saved search and a new report? Reports or actual reports that you would customize using a report builder. Save searches are more of a separate area of NetSuite for querying and kind of building out on the fly ad hoc type searches. I mean, in theory, a search or report, they can be used interchangeably as it's getting data out of the system, but one is a little bit more, a report is usually more external facing, a little bit more, presentation wise, has, collapsible, certain functionality. A search is more of just kind of the data. And you can do a lot with searches. Most NetSuite users really, really, really love the power of safe searches. I don't know if that helps, but there is a difference. They're totally different structures to run information out of the system. Is there a place or document that we can see how to set up the formula in a safe search? So yes, I think the best place there is if you join that LinkedIn group that was posted earlier. We've posted content out there before that shows a lot of formulas in action and how to set them up and how to use them. Additionally, you'll get the recording to this video. So I know we were going really fast, but you could slow it down. You can watch it in action. And then we also provide, I mean, literally, I'll share here if you see my screen. What will be provided is literally the PowerPoint deck. Charles, can you see the PowerPoint deck here?
Yep.
I mean, literally with step-by-step instructions for each step that we showed. So when you get to that point, you'll see the formula kind of being in action, if that helps. So it looks like we've answered all of them that are in, at least in the Q&A chat, Charles. I don't know if we want to open it up to the floor or what you're thinking.
Yeah. If anybody has a question or wants to raise their hand, any topics does not have to be this topic specifically. Please let us know. Also, once again, I'm going to plead again, help us help you, right? Please fill out that survey, all right? It should be a screen right on your poll. Helps us just to understand what you guys want and need help with, right? As well. Yes, Harley, you will get that PowerPoint deck and you'll get the recorded link after the event.
And then Charles, maybe we just point out again, please, guys, like we're trying to, if you could join this LinkedIn group, a lot of the next masterclass registrations get posted out there. We do weekly tips and tricks. There's a lot of good stuff there. So please join this group. I'll approve you if you request to join. Second, we're probably targeting to do the next masterclass Friday, April 25th. Target agenda, again, we're open to feedback. If you guys want to see something, I'd like to kind of see what people want to see, but we were going to show how to create a portlet script where you can display an iframe, and you can now start dropping iframes to other applications like a Lucidchart or something right on your home dashboard. It's another cool just trick that if you know how to do, it's pretty cool. You don't even have to leave NetSuite. You can see stuff right on your NetSuite. And then, yeah, if you guys have any NetSuite pain points, enhancements, integrations, questions, we're here to help, right? We're happy to help. Send me an email, grab some time on my Calendly. We're all about trying to help. And yeah, just wanted to kind of point that out.
Nicole had a question in the chat, Dean. Are these report functions only possible to create only in administrator role?
When you say report functions, do you mean like running reports, or do you mean specifically all this like configurational script type stuff that we set? You would need, yeah, you're going to want administrator access. Yeah.
And Nicole, did you want to jump? I mean, obviously, easy question, but if you wanted to jump on and you want to raise your hand, I'll allow you to talk. 1 second. Go ahead, Nicole.
Hey, sorry. Yeah, that was really my only question. Just wondering if there's a way to maybe create another role that you could grant the person access to Suite scripts and making those configurations, or whether really that's only available in the admin role.
I know you can, because, as a consulting firm with over 300 consultants, sometimes we get people who are like, we don't want to give you admin. So there are slightly watered down roles that you can create that probably give you access to what you need. To be honest, it's a pain, because if you're trusting me to create scripts and run stuff in your account, I could probably screw stuff up even with a watered down role. You know what I mean? So usually there's got to be a good enough comfort level to be whoever you're assigning administrator access to, that they're not going to go wreak havoc in your NetSuite system. Yeah. That is why I also would say a lot of the stuff that we teach here today, it is not recommended to just go gangbusters in your production account and just If you want to test some of this stuff out, do it in a sandbox. If you guys have a sandbox, usually people don't mind giving you administrator type access to a sandbox where you can't really hurt anything and you're trying to learn, right? But that's more of a business decision and business policy or process that you'd have to work with whoever kind of controls access to your NetSuite environment.
Thank you.
Yep. Now, I do have a question back to everybody. If you can give us some feedback. This was way more technical than I ever planned to go. I'm not very technical. Again, I got help to run this demonstration today. But I thought it was meaningful enough because I'm like, if I can do it and we're showing people the steps to do it and it's a one-time setup and then now you can use it, I thought there was a lot of value and power there. But I also want to be mindful of like, there's users who are more operational, there are people who are more functional in nature, and then there's straight up developers. For all the developer people who joined the call, this was probably, you know, somewhat introductory, not that complex for you guys, but just want to kind of see if we get some feedback of, is this starting to get into like not interesting because it's too technical, or are we kind of game on for any type of content as long as it's, you know, documented and somebody can kind of follow the steps?
I think we got it definitely helpful. Keep it going. We do have a couple questions in the Q&A, a couple new questions, Dean. Harley's asking if there's available free access of NetSuite to practice the topic recovered.
Not that I'm aware of.
I mean, your sandbox, maybe. And then there's another question that anonymous attendee put in there. Accidentally voided a credit memo. How do you unvoid without creating a credit memo?
Where am I? Am I missing these? Oh, how do I get back to the Q&A? Let me see here.
You might have opened the new box.
All right, hold on.
Or
Oh, chat.
I can just say it. It just says accidentally.
Oh, Q&A. Okay, I got it here. Harley, hope there will be available free access of NetSuite practice, the topic covered. There's not. If you find one, let me know. But I'm pretty sure NetSuite doesn't give out free access for that type of stuff. It is a bit above my skill set, not speaking JavaScript. I'm excited to play it back and try the slower speed and see if I can deploy it properly or not. Yeah, definitely. I don't know JavaScript either, Caleb. I didn't write the script. I can copy and paste. I could do that much and it works. So I'm hopeful that if you do try it out and you kind of, you know, yeah, you should be able to get it to work. And if you don't, reach out to me and I'll see if we can help you out.
And then there's an anonymous one. You see the top?
Accidentally voided a credit memo. How can you unvoid without creating a credit memo? I'll have to double check. Functionally, I think there's certain settings. Settings get weird with, you know, whether you have voiding journals set up and things like that. I'd probably have to see an example of it and maybe pull in a functional team member to just make sure I'm getting you the right info. But you should be able to void a credit memo as far as I know, but I don't know. I'd have to look into it further.
And then Sue Ganesh had her hand up again. Go ahead, Sue.
I just so that I also answered that question someone else asked about unvoiding CM. You can't unvoid once you void, just so you know. But my question was on like another related to advanced PDF template, if that's okay to ask about it, especially for invoices that have installments, if there would be a way to print them out based on the due dates of the installment invoices, not the main invoice due date. Is that something any of you guys done? Or maybe if not, then if that would be something we can discuss in the next topic as well.
Yeah, I mean, again, if you want to shoot an email, we got my email in there. If there's specific things that you guys would like to see or explore what's possible, I mean, again, we're looking for feedback. We're looking for ideas. I can't answer that because like I said, Sue, I'm not technical. What I can tell you is I've seen my technical team do things that I would have just been like, there's no way that's possible. And we've started to find that there usually is a way. It just really comes down to how much time and how much money are you willing to spend to try to figure it out. But we've literally done very, very complex things in NetSuite that I just was like, I didn't know you could do that, right? I would never have guessed that we could build our own label printing solution, our own, you know, it's just so much stuff that you, yeah. So the answer to your question is probably, but we would need the details, the requirements, you know, an example, and that would probably just try to see if we can kind of, if we can kind of at least prove if it's feasible or not.
Right, do you want to show me? Well, I don't know, because I now don't have access to NetSuite, but I don't know how I can get you the use case unless you have the installment set up on your account. But maybe I have given this on the feedback form that we just got. I sent that note. Maybe when I hear back from you guys again asking anything in particular, I can write back or email you back later.
Got it. Okay. And Charles, I'm gonna stop doing these if you're more handsome than me. So we should probably remove the question.
We don't want that. We don't want that. So vote for Dean, guys. Vote for Dean. We want the Masterclass.
No, I
You
don't
don't want
care. I
me in
don't
your
care.
NetSuite. You do
Yeah.
not want me in your
Yeah.
NetSuite.
Awesome.
Any other questions, guys? Like I said, wide open. Does not have to be about this topic. It can be anything. You know, the more the merrier. It helps us, right? Helps us to help you guys. I think we got everything answered. Everyone's saying kind of automation is always good to cover. Technical automations are best. Agreed. So I think we're, and if you haven't seen the previous ones, I think the last 3, Dean, have been all about automation.
Yeah, I think the last three or four were all about, you know, workflows and how to use workflows to automate stuff. And yeah, we're just gonna keep cranking on just different ways to automate and make things more efficient. So whether that's workflows, whether it's scripts. I mean, one that I'd like to show in the future is how to actually pick up a file from an email and run a script to bring that into NetSuite, so you can take an attachment right out of an email. Like there's so much crazy stuff that you can do. And yeah, we just want people to see what's possible and really get the most out of their investment in NetSuite. So
Excellent, excellent. And once again, like I said, please fill out that survey poll. It just really helps us, because otherwise we're kind of shooting blind, and Dean and I, and mostly Dean, are really kind of thinking in our head. Yes, Anonymous, I can send you here. I'll just put it in the. Let me pull it up. I do have it. The links to the previous. It's another page. Just give me a second. So here is I'm putting in the chat previous webinar access, and you get access to the recording,
I'm gonna
but
bring
then
it
you
up
also
here.
get the PowerPoint. You also get the PowerPoint step by step, which I think is really helpful, because you can just using that. I mean, I'll give you an example. I think it's one of Dean's clients. We had a CFO able to build his own dashboard just from the recording. And no disrespect to CFOs, we all know the CFO is not really in the NetSuite system a lot, right? They're not the most handy with it. So I thought that was pretty impressive as well. The link is in the chat. Good. Any other questions, guys? While we have Dean. No, we'll give it a couple more minutes. If anyone's shy, don't be shy. No, it doesn't have to be a business email, Sue. Just any email. You just got to register, put your email and contact information, and then it will email you a link, and then this is what pops up, what's on Dean's. View the webinar, and then you can download the actual PDF of the actual like walkthrough.
Yep.
And it literally is like literal step-by-step walkthrough.
One of the videos. Handsome guy there. Who's that handsome guy?
Yeah, you're very welcome, Sue. Good guys. Well, if that is it, like I said, one last push. If you guys can answer that survey, please give us, what'd you like, what'd you dislike, any concerns, things you didn't like, what do you want to see in the next one, right? Or next ones. Please, please, please let us know so we can get that ready for next month. Dean, do we have a date yet for the next one?
I was targeting April 25th. My birthday is the 29th, so I don't really want to do it on my birthday or around my birthday, but yeah, hopefully the 25th would be good if that works for you, Charles.
Perfect. Yeah, I think that works. Am I out of town? We'll figure it out, but it'll
Okay.
probably be mid to end of April.
Towards the end of April, yeah.
Yep. Well, good. Any last minute questions? Last minute pitch, please fill out the survey for the 37 of you guys that are still here. Please fill out the survey if you haven't already. Helps us tremendously. And then register for the NetSuite Made Easy group. If we can give just like some thumbs up, some claps to Dean for doing such a great job. This takes a lot of time. He is in full desk sales and he takes time out to make these. So much appreciated to you, Dean. If we can give him some kudos, some thank yous, some thumbs up, all that good stuff in the chat, that would be, I'm sure he'll appreciate it. Excellent. Sweet. All right, guys. Well, we appreciate it. We are going to sign off if there's no other questions. Going once, going twice, going 3 times. Have a wonderful weekend, everyone. God bless. And we'll see you guys next month. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Charles. Thanks, everybody. We'll see ya.
Thanks, Dean. See you guys.